Hey, Motorman here. It's the start of Biketoberfest tomorrow. I'm going to be over at Destination Daytona. I'll be walking around doing my usual thing, my man in the street. You'll know me because I'll be holding the camera. I'm going to be wearing this hat, this very shirt. And if you come up to me, I know you're probably going to say, the first thing people usually say to me is, you look so much taller and thinner and younger in person. Well, that's true, but you'll still be able to recognize me. I'll be holding a camera. I'll be doing my usual man in the street thing. I have a lot of fun with a bunch of people there. And if you're a subscriber, or if you subscribe at the moment you come up and start talking to me, I'm going to have some free swag to give you. And that's not the end of this video, because I've got some extra tips on, I'm going to call it moron U-turns. That's not for morons, it's more on U-turns. So take a look at this. This is some folks from my class. I'll show you what happens in the class and what they do wrong and what they do right. So hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. That's Thursday, October 14th at Destination Daytona. I'll be there around 10:30 in the morning. I'll be walking all over the place, spend a few hours there. I'd love to have you come up and say hello. Till then. Serious tip. Turns your head and eyes. No reason to look at the opposite side over there, or the end of the leg. If you do that, yeah. Make it tight, honey. Good. So you got 6 extra feet over there. 6 extra feet. You could screw this up by 6 feet and still make it.
What's the extra?
Gives you that momentum. You don't have to use it, but it's easier. You want to do it the harder way, you go straight in there and then make the turn. After you do a few of these U-turns, and I know everybody can do it, then we're going to run the whole intersection. So here's how it works. Here's the only straight part, just the first 10 feet. She turns her head. As soon as that turn is completed, she already looks in the next leg. Turn is completed, she looks in the next leg. She doesn't wait till she gets past the corner here, and she doesn't come all the way over to the middle of the road, because if there was a truck coming, she'd get killed. Just watch how easy it is. Again, she's turning in one direction or another. No straight part to this. There's the turn. There's a turn. There's a turn. It's never going straight. She approaches that cone leaning to the right, turning.
Just like that.
Now, at first, all the riders want to look at that cone on the opposite side of the street. Almost hits it. The more you look at that thing you don't want to hit, the closer you're going to get to hitting it. It's a natural instinct, but if it's on the street and you look at the curb, yeah, you're going to hit the curb. Your head and eyes should actually be looking over your left shoulder as far as possible. If you do that, the turn will be extremely tight. If you look at that opposite side where that cone is, yeah, you almost hit it, or you do hit it. Here's the absence of a dip. The dip helps you. I want a dip. I want you to dip into that green. Gotta turn your head. Now let's watch this rider. No dip at all. Keeping the bike straight up, looks right at the cone and runs right into it. Once all the riders have practiced the U-turn 8 or 10 times, we start running the entire intersection. Now watch this rider. She does a very common thing. I see this in the class all the time. Look how wide that right turn is. She's actually on the opposite side of the road. If we were on the street, 24-foot street, she'd be crossing the double yellow line, and you know that could cause serious problems. Notice also, she's too far from that cone on the right to make that U-turn, so she lost 4 or 5 feet of the space. Almost hits that cone, and now she's going to do the same thing again on the wrong side of the road. Just barely, but still on the wrong side of the road. Now let's watch this rider. Turns into the first leg, does pretty well. Now watch what happens when he gets into the next leg. He looks at the opposite side where he doesn't want to go. He goes over the imaginary curb, way over on this side, on the wrong side of the street. As we get towards the end of the class, 90% of the riders have got a real good handle on the 3 techniques. They are, of course, proper use of your head and eyes, proper use of the friction zone, and a little bit of pressure on the rear brake to help steady the motorcycle while making these turns. The better you get with the clutch and throttle, using the friction zone, eventually you get to where you don't even need the rear brake. Simply head and eyes, clutch and throttle, that's really it. About 7 out of 10 of the riders we had in this class were able to complete this last and most difficult exercise because it's a confined area with a lot of cones. But every single rider in the class improved their skills tremendously. Now the trick is, once you leave the class, to continue practicing the techniques and what you learned in the class. If you don't do that, if this is the only time you ever practice these low-speed maneuvers and come back a year later, it's almost like starting at square one. Not quite, but almost. If you spent just 30-40 minutes a week at an empty parking lot practicing your U-turns, circles, figure eights, etc., you'll become an extremely proficient rider, and you'll keep getting better and better. Believe me, riding is a lot more fun and a lot safer when you actually know what the hell you're doing. Now watch this video coming up next.